Welcome back, everybody. This is the real, in-person, non-AI created Jason and my partner,
the non-AI Jeremy.
Yeah. So we're here again for another exciting episode of From the Music Store. We got a couple of interesting things going on. This is our second show where we don't have a guest, or at least as of yet. We are in the music store. Somebody might walk in.
Yeah, they can walk in any minute.
It's happened before. So when we're doing these segments, we're calling them news bits. It's a little bit of news. It's a little bit of bits. This just in. On the internal news front, we've got something kind of exciting. We actually have a research assistant joining our team. And actually, today, she sent in some ideas for some interviews and bits and things for us to talk about. And you notice I said she, so it's great to have a female perspective. Break out of the stereotype of a bunch of dudes in a guitar store.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited about that. And, just for instance, she threw in some ideas for things that I think my wife would probably agree of, like why only 2% of the top producers are women. I feel kind of jerky because I haven't put anything at the top of my list that is really female-oriented. We haven't really spoken to any women in the business yet. So that's kind of not cool on our part. So hopefully now we're going to be having a new perspective.
Yeah.
We're going to hold off a little bit and do a surprise announcement and hopefully get her on air with us. The reason I said the non-AI Jason is that as I tell people about our shows and what we're discussing, almost everyone to a T says, what are you doing? And a bit on AI. And initially my answer to that has been that I want to get more hands-on experience. In other words, I want to work with some of these AI apps so I can have a first-hand review or an impression of what they are. Some of the stuff I've heard hasn't been that great. And of course, in the news this past week, there was the fake Drake situation. And it's probably going to happen more and more. But as an educator and a human, the concept starts to bother me a little bit. So I haven't been doing the AI thing because I'm trying to temper myself a little bit. And then just when I think I'm doing that, I see like an ad through, I think it was on my Facebook or something this morning from like what was it, Jasper AI. It's a writing AI. So it's like if you need it to write an article. Now, it's interesting that popped up on my feed today, this morning, just as with the first day that we're bringing on a research assistant who happens to be a real human being to help us come up with stories that involve music, art, and culture, but the humanity of it being front and center. And this one AI video ad clip was like, you can crank out content nonstop. I wanted to reach through my screen and just punch this kid because he's like, hey, when you stare at a blank screen and you can't think of anything, this AI will do it for you. And, it's like with music, right?
That's the pot calling the kettle black.
Oh, Jesus. I mean, you can't just take technology and say, fulfill my life and creative needs by just inventing something because, oh, God forbid, I look at a white piece of paper and my poor little heart can't handle the fact that I can't think of anything. Oh, I'm so sorry. Do you need me to hold your hand? Like, are you kidding me? This is old man yelling at clouds again.
Yeah, we sound. Yeah, but we're gonna sound old, especially right now.
And this is why I haven't started the AI bit yet, because I know you'll literally hear me screaming and yelling in the background. But, for me, for years until I blew my knees out, I did a lot of martial arts stuff. And the one thing I learned from doing that was really to enjoy the journey, enjoy the process. There is no destination. You know what I mean? It's fine. You get all these belts and all that kind of stuff. But it's really just, I think you can classify people into, organize them more than anything.
Yeah. You can't be putting this guy who's been doing this for 15 years against somebody who's like, I just started.
Yeah. Like you don't need to be working with that guy. So, but you enjoy the journey, right? And I think that music is the same thing. Like I enjoy not having instant gratification.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, to me, that is the mystery unfolding. And my feelings don't get hurt if I look at my instrument and I'm like, ooh, what am I going to do today? Or like I want to write a song and I can't write a song. What am I going to do? Oh.
Yeah, no, I think one of the best things about playing anything is the journey. It's the walk. I mean, you look, if you do some self-analysis, you look back and go, I could not do that. Even from a physical standpoint, like maybe I'm not thinking about, oh, what piece of music knowledge do I have to have? No, I mean physically, my body couldn't perform this once before. I couldn't. If a drummer can't separate their limbs and all of a sudden they can, that's progression you can track. You go, man, I'm making some headway here. There must be something to this whole practicing thing.
Yeah, or like you do that and the drummer's playing and somebody starts dancing and you're like, wow, I feel good on the inside. I now have an emotional response that was created through my work.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that whole thing gets removed and disappears once you just start going into AI. AI to me can't fulfill that human need to be creative or to make someone happy or make somebody sad.
Well, it can't, you have to remember, the author of those emotions that came out in the music came out from the human element. So there's no way you can author authentic emotion. I always felt that way with techno music. It's this. It's only ever going to be this. It's what did George Harrison say? George Harrison said that the tempo of the song needs to sort of flow with the rhythm of your heart. So if things speed up a little bit, that's cool. That's human. If things slow down a little bit, that's cool. That's human. But with techno music, and this is how I felt when techno and I guess sampling started becoming a thing. I'm like, what I don't like about it isn't necessarily the content, so to speak. Like, I can get down with some hip hop, I can get down with some rap, and I can appreciate what the person's trying to say. But I think it's the lack of human beings that created it.
Well, and I think that's why probably still people still love the Rolling Stones and Led Zeppelin and that sort of thing. So we've got other things to talk about. One thing, we were talking about songs before. So we had the unfortunate news that Gordon Lightfoot passed away this week. So when I think of him passing, it's aligning with the passing of my mother. Gordon Lightfoot was part of, at least up in New Jersey and New York, we would call, like, there was a station called Lite FM. And it would all be, it would be Jim Croce, the Eagles, Gordon Lightfoot, you'd get American Pie, the list goes on and on.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it, and it's kind of like, it makes me sad. Just another person leaving that genre of Lite FM. And when I was a kid growing up, Lite FM was on in my house and it was never turned off. So in a lot of that way, those tunes were part of my growing up. In a way, when you think of those artists that are still alive and still around performing, in a way, it sort of keeps my mother still alive.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing, but I think you got the recordings. That's what you got. The recordings are going to be there forever. They're going to be the thing that, that's what keeps his name going. You don't know Gordon. That's why every single artist who's ever passed on is discovered by someone young, and you're blown away when you hear a young person talk about some person's been dead for the last 40 years or 50 years or even 70 years. With the Buddy Holly thing, I'm in a Buddy Holly tribute band for all those that don't know. And I meet young people all the time.
That's the Ray-Vons?
The Ray-Vons, yeah. And these songs are getting up like 70 years old, and there's like 19-year-old, 18-year-old kids that are like, oh no. Of course it's always promulgated by a grandparent or something like that. But the fact that they catch on the music, and it's like, no, it's still catching on. It's still carried on. The torch is still being passed. Yeah,
and I have to say, like, sometimes I get amazed when you see, like, a 12 or 13-year-old, some of the T-shirts you see them wearing.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. So moving on, in other news, let's see. We've got another interesting feed that came across was a Guitar World article on actors that were bass players that you didn't know. So I occasionally flip around on different instruments, and I've said this before in an episode. I'm convinced my phone spies on everything I do. So it heard me talking about probably one of the new basses that we got. And so now it's kicking out bass articles. But let's see if any of these ring a bell. So we can start with some of the obvious, okay? The one actor who I never pronounce his name correctly, Keanu Reeves.
You did a good job.
Now, did you knew that he was a bass player?
I did know that, yeah.
Yes. And his band is called Dogstar. They were around in the 90s. Took a break for a long, long time, I guess, while he was busy rolling in money and gold and jewels while buying people coffee and donuts in diners. He's an interesting dude. shows up in very strange places. But I guess apparently they are doing a reunion for this year, 2023, Dogstar, with new material. So hopefully he's been spending that past decade working on his slapping technique.
And he's got those John Wick movies, you know?
Yeah. It'd be cool if like John Wick just like came out and then instead of like shooting somebody, like either pulled out a bass instead of funky thing, everybody just started dancing and it turned into a Bollywood movie, or he just took the bass and like bashed some dude over the head with it.
It's about all bass is good for these days anyway.
Bass players, gotta love them. Here's another one you probably, well, speaking of slapping, I'm gonna play a little slappage here right now, and you're probably not gonna know who this is, but this actor starred in Aquaman.
I'm not ashamed to say that I didn't see it. Is it Jason Momoa?
Yes, it is.
He's a bass player?
I didn't see it either.
Okay, yeah, I didn't see that.
But yeah, so here he is. He's slapping away, and actually, this is Les Claypool on the drums.
Oh wow, and that's a quite the bass player right there.
Yeah.
For all those who don't know, a very experimental band in the '90s called Primus.
Yep.
Les Claypool. Also, if you were a South Park fan,
I was going to say that's his claim to fame, probably to the mass audience, right?
Yeah. South Park. The South Park intro theme song is created by Les Claypool.
Yeah. So apparently, Jason Momoa digs playing the bass. I think he was saying that he keeps one in his movie trailer. Here's another one that just I don't know. This one's weird. Ryan Gosling.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He has a Los Angeles-based duo called Dead Man's Bones, where he plays the bass with his friend Zach Shields, whom is on guitar. Huh. You know, I like Ryan Gosling and everything, but his vibe doesn't like reek like Rockstar, right? He's
been acting for a long time. Nickelodeon had a show called Are You Afraid of the Dark? And in the 90s.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, and he was a child actor on that show.
Ryan Gosling was?
Ryan Gosling.
Huh.
Yeah, he's been acting for a long time, so I wonder if he's been playing music this entire time. That's interesting.
That's a very good question.
Huh. Ryan, the guy's so good looking.
Yeah.
Now he's got to take bass, too.
Yeah.
Leave that to the people. Us normal-looking folks
usually,
need to...
like bass is what us ugly guys have.
This is what please don't take this from us.
Gary Sinise.
I knew that, too.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
No, I did not know that. Yeah. You know, Gary Sinise is Lieutenant Dan, which happens to be the name of his band.
Yeah, the Lieutenant Dan band. Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, that band does a lot of performances in support of our troops and disabled vets, which is just great. And the videos I've seen, he is just funking out on the bass. It's a pretty high energy party band, which is really cool. Do you think Ryan Gosling should have named his band La La Land, or maybe Keanu should have been like In the Matrix, or should those guys have used their character names or something to like get the publicity going? What's your take?
Well, I mean, licensing issues would probably prevent you from calling it The
Neo.
Matrix.
What was his character? Neo.
Yeah, you can call it Neo.
That'd be lame.
That would be lame. It's like kind of like having you're wearing your own band T-shirt to a show.
I've done that
your
once.
Own show.
I did that once.
Yeah, but it's not like you're. It doesn't matter who you are, but like you're not Dave Grohl going up on stage right now wearing a Foo Fighter shirt. I think Gary Sinise is such an everyman.
Yeah,
everyone. You always have those actors who play. They have that everyman kind of a look. So Gary Sinise is like, oh yeah, he was in that one. Oh, and he was in that. I forgot how many movies he was actually in. So maybe that's why he has the connection with Lieutenant Dan thing.
How about Kenny G? What if Kenny G wore a Kenny G t-shirt?
I don't even think Kenny G should... Well, I won't talk about the things I don't think Kenny G should do.
All right. So there's some other guys in here. Malcolm Jamal Warner. And then the 800-pound gorilla in the room of actors who play instruments is...
Steven Seagal.
No, but that would be great. Is he in a Russian heavy metal band now? Because
no, he's like a blues nut.
Oh, Steven, he is.
He's a huge blues nut. I've actually never heard him play. I know that CBS, NBC, somebody in the early 2000s, late 90s did a little puff piece on Steven Seagal and his collection of guitars.
I collect guitars because I'm a serious player and I love guitar and I play all kinds of different music.
Anyway, so the 800-pound gorilla in the room is Johnny Depp. Yeah. So he's known mostly for guitar, obviously. Apparently playing slide with Oasis. That's an interesting one. A little acoustic guitar in the movie Chocolat.
Johnny Depp in the delicious comedy that feels as good as it tastes. Chocolat.
I'm man enough to admit that it's a good movie. I like the movie. It's a bit of a romantic-y kind of movie, and Johnny Depp's in it. But you know what it is? It's got a lot of that like gypsy jazz, Django Reinhardt stuff in it. And as soon as you play anything gypsy jazz, I'm just like sucker.
Sure,
I'm in it.
Well, I think he was in a band with was it Joe Perry too?
Yeah, Joe Perry and Alice Cooper. I guess. But apparently he. Shocker has a large collection of basses. I mean, if I had Johnny Depp's money, I'd have a large collection of probably everything you could think of. Let's see, what would I have? I'd have like 50 scuba flippers, probably. I'd probably have like 12 wetsuits, maybe.
12? Only 12?
Yeah, maybe 12. I don't know. A bunch of surfboards, even though I don't surf anymore because my knees don't work. I don't know. So, yeah, we got Johnny Depp. Anyway, whatever on him. A couple things that are going on this week. Jeremy and I are going to play a performance for a bunch of people for the Kentucky Derby. Apparently, the unofficial theme song is "Run for the Roses" by Dan Fogelberg.
Huh. Okay. Well, because is it the rose wreath that goes around the horse?
Yeah. I think Jerry Garcia actually did a version of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we're doing that. It'll be interesting. Actually, this was one of the topics I don't know if we're going to have to get into, but one of the things I want to talk about. So we're doing some songs about horses. So I was looking up, like, how many songs are there about horses? And, a couple classics come to name.
Wild horses.
Wild horse.
Horse with no name.
Horse with no name. Okay. And there are other. There's a Lyle Lovett song which I love, is where he's my pony on the boat. It takes two things I love, horses and boats, and merge it together. I'll play that a little bit here. Let's talk about wild horses. Here's a thing that burns my bridges. And let me know if I'm being crazy old man again. Who wrote the song called Wild Horses?
Rolling Stones?
Well, imagine it's not the Rolling Stones.
It's not. You know who put out a song called Wild Horses?
Dolly Parton.
No, close. Garth Brooks.
Okay.
Right. And in this one, he's like, he's really Garth Brooks-y. Like, he's really over the top being Garth Brooks. And I like Garth Brooks. But this version of this song, I think, just sucks. If you have a song that you're going to write, and it's about a guy like, I'm doing the rodeo, and my wife's not happy about it, whatever, I dig it. Don't call it Wild Horses, okay? It's like, I'm going to write like this little instrumental, and I'm going to call it YYZ.
Yeah, you can't do that.
You can't do that.
No, you've duped people.
Yeah.
You've duped.
And you know who else did that?
Ed Sheeran.
He's in the news too. Ed Sheeran.
Yep.
And he's in the, so he got off the hook with his lawsuit with Marvin Gaye's family,
which he should not have. I'm sorry. I'm putting my opinion out there.
You? Okay, let's go there.
He should no. That's wrong. It's the song. It's the song, and there's no fan of Ed Sheeran's that would agree with me until I have a young student who they love Ed Sheeran. I said, "Oh, did you hear about that whole business?" And like, "Yeah, I don't know really too much about it." I go, "Listen to this." They go, "Oh wow, this is really good." I go, "Yeah, this is Marvin Gaye."
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, "Do you know why you like it so much? Let's listen to this." Oh wow, that sounds really. It's the same song.
Yeah, so I'm with you. Although when I went to music business and technology school, one of the things that we had to learn, this is why I want to get a friend of ours who's an attorney on the show. According to the copyright law, and it may have changed, but the only thing that you actually can copyright is lyrics and melody. And also arrangements. Arrangements can be copyrighted too. But chord progressions can't.
Sure.
Drum beats can't. Vibes can't. And I have to say I personally haven't formulated an opinion, but obviously you feel that it...
Yeah, for all those who don't know, Ed Sheeran, there's the lawsuit in question here is that he lifted almost everything except for the lyrics from Marvin Gaye's Let's Get It On.
Right.
When you listen to it, and what's the name of the Ed Sheeran song now? I can't even... this is how far I've put it out of my brain.
Yeah,
I'll
play it because I'll research it.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think everybody out there in Radioland should just be the judge. Listen to the two songs and be the judge. And do you think that this song really sounds like it was lifted from this? And if so, if it was intentional and all of that, you have to realize that Ed Sheeran is not the only person that's in the mix here. We've got a lot of other smart people in the room that are running around, producers and recording engineers and such.
Yeah, and nobody said.
And nobody stopped to say.
So here's the thing. I think then it's really on purpose, right? So let's pretend like we're nobodies.
Well, there's no such thing as, I don't have to pretend, Jason.
Right, exactly. So we just go and rip off, I don't know, Walk This Way.
Sure.
And then we just kind of change a little bit, and then it's popular. We make a lot of money, and then we get sued. At that point,
doesn't matter.
Who cares? Take all the money. Literally, take it all the money. I don't care because now I'll do something else and now I can do it. You know, I read an article. Did we talk about this? I don't know if I talked about this on the air. I read an article. Do you know how much P. Diddy is paying? Speaking of the Sting, you know how much he pays him every day?
You told me this, but go ahead. I want to.
$5,000 a day
for P. Diddy's thing back in the day of every breath you take. Yes,
stealing every breath you take. Yeah. So I guess to pay off his settlement, it's $5,000 a day. I mean, what? Here's the thing. I'm not convinced, and I'm gonna go on Ed Sheeran's case a little bit, and I could be wrong, Ed. If you're upset, you can call me. We can come talk about it. But you also titled a song that you never should have titled.
Yeah, the other thing.
I mean, if anybody who knows me is going to know this one's really going to get under my skin.
Entitled the song, another very famous song title that already exists. Go ahead.
Galway Girl.
Yes.
So, Galway Girl is written by an American, Mr. Steve Earle, one of my favorite artists, and subsequently there were recordings of him doing it live in Ireland, and it's a great song. There's no way Ed Sheeran doesn't know of the existence of this song. I just find that hard to believe. Don't name a song that way. And I'm not saying Ed does this and other people, but I think some other people do. Like, a real jerky thing is you could write a song like Wild Horses and title it. And now when you go to like Spotify or wherever and you search it, it's like, oh, here's a song called Wild Horses. Maybe you inadvertently click on it and it's Med Fleeman's version of whatever song, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just like, don't do that. I mean, if you don't, right?
Yeah.
I Google, if I'm going to title something, I Google it. If I come up with a band name, you know, the Flaming Chocolate Popcorns or whatever, the first thing I'm going to do is be like, I'm going to Google it.
Yeah, okay, make sure no one else has it.
Hey, have you heard of this new invention, Google? It's been around a while, right? If I'm going to release a record and or a song, and I'm going to put a title, I'm going to freaking Google it to make sure somebody else doesn't have it, right? Because, like, I fancy myself a creative person. Not that I am, but I fancy myself that. So I want to be unique and have... Am I ranting? I'm ranting,
no,
right?
You're not ranting. I mean, it's. I think there's some... You know what it is? You know what bothers you about it? But you just said you fancy yourself a creative type, an artist, if you will, and you're genuine. You don't want to be disingenuous. That's the thing. If you're being disingenuous about the point of reference or the style or even just something as simple as a song title, it's like, I know you knew what you were doing if you happen to pick that. I was looking up for a student who wanted to learn. I had to recall the chord progression, so I look up Don't Stop Believin', and I'm pulling the chords up on this particular application on my phone. I'm not going to say which one. And like the first one, I don't quote me on this. I can't remember who it was, but I'll just say Pink. It wasn't Pink, but Pink comes up, Don't Stop Believin'. It's like, don't we all know the Don't Stop Believin' that we're all questioning here? And it was somebody else. It wasn't Pink, but it was another artist who I did recognize. I'm like, I'm not looking for this version.
No.
I'm looking for the only Don't Stop Believin' that exists.
You know,
by
how
Charity.
to call this song called Don't Stop Believing I'm Coming Back to You, Baby.
Parentheses.
Because you suck.
Sure.
Yeah, right? You know what I mean? Use the parenthetical. That's a great word. Disingenuous. And that's what got my goat about the AI thing in the beginning. On the writing thing. You know what I mean? It's like disingenuous to be like, hey, by the way, everybody, big disclaimer. This show today was created by AI, and I'm just a big wanker, and I'm just reading it, so you think I'm cool. Like, oh, I'm going to punch that kid. I'm going to find the thing of him doing so you can see I want to punch him.
Where your lack of creativity ends, AI sort of begins.
All right, so wait, hold on a second. Elliot, what do you think of the idea of a machine or a program creating music for you?
Called a computer.
Well, yes, that's, that's the whole point.
But its existence, does it? Are you happy about its existence? Coming from a time when there was no such thing and all music was created by humans, and there was never an idea that there would ever be a machine that synthetically made music for us.
Well, there's always been a machine because you had to record onto something.
It didn't make the music, though.
Oh, no. But without a doubt, I come from the school of part of the perfection is imperfection.
Well,
And when you take every little thing out of it with a machine, or you record it with a machine to put you in pitch, it seems very, very vanilla.
Right. Okay. He brought up a great point, though, right? That I didn't even think about. When you had a tape, reel-to-reel tape deck and you could punch in and out, was that then cheating? Are you taking music and being like, okay, I'm playing the song, I screwed up, I'm going to fix. Like, this goes back to like the 1950s. We were able to go in and fix things to make them less human, technically. So is AI a natural progression of that?
Sure. I don't know when punching it became a thing, and somebody who's an audio recording historian could probably tell me better, but it is all too often that I have been involved in projects that involve me listening to old 50s recordings, so all the 50s tribute work that I've done, and there are mistakes. And I think it was just, there was somebody behind the glass going, you know what, that was good enough, time is money. And that mistake lives on. So I think, I don't know when
Is there
punching...
one that sticks out that we could play? Is there anything in a recording that really sticks out?
Yeah. If you listen to a very famous Buddy Holly song called Every Day, the bass line is all over the place. It's just not together. And there's also some pretty famous rhythmic things and bass things and you name it that have happened on Elvis recordings. Just find one. It's like, no, we record this live. We're not going to go back and fix it. But when punching in, I think maybe the idea was that whether if it's perfection they're shooting for, I think what the idea is that we're shooting for a product and we want our product to be really good. So yeah, maybe a mistake was made. We're going to fix it and once we do, you'll never hear the mistake again, but we're also putting out a product.
It's kind of like we're selling this widget and we need some noise to go behind it, or I'm going to shake my booty on the TikTok and I need some music to do it to. Doesn't matter what the music is, I'm just shaking my booty and I'm going to get a lot of views. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And with that being said, thank you very much. This is Jason.
I'm Jeremy.
And we are from the music store. Jeremy, tell them, don't be disingenuous. Tell everybody how they can find out more about us.
Oh, sure. Not only on WBNJ 91.9, you can find us anywhere you get your podcast. What would it be? We have Pandora.
Yeah.
Where else?
We're on Apple,
Spotify, YouTube.
Yes. Somewhere in India. We do have some Indian listeners. We have some listeners in France. We have listeners in the UK. And
Canada.
All you
people.
Hey, hi.
Thank you for your patronage.
Go to our website.
From themusicstore.com.
Yep. All of our episodes are there as well. Please hit us up. There's a contact form there. We are always anxious to hear what our listeners have to say. Thank you very much. We will see you next week.